Normal is the kind of movie I usually defend, and this time, I really couldn't. It kind of pissed me off, actually, and that surprised me because on paper, this has everything it should work. You've got Bob Odenkirk stepping back into the everyman action role, dropped into a bizarre offbeat situation, and the movie leans into this dark comedy, ultra-violent tone that, honestly, I've liked before. I'm not above it. I've defended movies like this, but this one was just ugly, and I don't mean that in a shocking way, and I don't mean it to push boundaries or it made me think. I mean ugly in the sense that after a while, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I think it comes down to something pretty simple. Movies like this need rules. You can go wild, you can get violent, absurd, over the top. That's part of the fun, but there still has to be a structure underneath it. The world has to make sense, even if it's crazy. And once you break those rules, it falls apart fast. So the setup here actually pulled me in at first. You got this interim sheriff coming into normal Minnesota, and right away, something feels off about the town. Then the movie reveals what's really going on, that the entire town is basically operating under the control of a Japanese mafia. The bank is the front, the town is in on it, and everything is built around maintaining this version of normal so people can survive and keep things running. That's a great idea. There's something interesting there about fear, about people protecting a system because they don't see another way out. And for a little while, I thought the movie might actually lean into that, but it doesn't. Instead, it just uses that idea as fuel because once the chaos starts, once the bank robbery hits and everything kicks into motion, the movie stops building that world and it just starts escalating. And this is where it lost me because instead of feeling like a story unfolding, it turns into a series of moments. One setup after another, one kill after another, all trying to top the last one. And I get what it's going for, that dark, offbeat, almost playful violence, but it never landed that way for me. It just started to feel repetitive and eventually just flat out ugly. And a big reason for that is who this violence is happening to. These aren't larger than life villains. These aren't clearly defined bad guys that the movie sets up and pays off. These are townspeople, regular people, people making bad decisions out of fear, trying to protect what they think is keeping them alive. And the movie treats them like obstacles, disposable. And that's where the disconnect really hit for me, because the everyman action hero only works when the world around him makes sense. That's the whole appeal. You take someone grounded, someone relatable, and you drop them into a heightened situation, but the world still has to feel believable within its own rules. Here, I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy that everyone would stay in line the way they do. I didn't buy that the fear alone would hold this entire system together. And because I didn't buy into it, every time the movie tried to raise the stakes, it didn't feel earned. It just felt like it was happening. And once that happens, you start to check out. And at least I did. And it's frustrating because I can see the version of this that works. I can see the movie that balances this tone better than leans into the absurdity without losing structure. We've seen versions of this before. Nobody does it well. Even something like Wild at Heart goes extreme, but it understands its tone. It knows what it is and stays in control of it. This one never feels fully in control. It just keeps pushing. Bigger moments, more chaos, more violence, like it's trying to find the next thing that lands. And for me, it never really does. It just keeps going. And that's where it starts to feel less like a story and more like an excuse, because at a certain point, it stops feeling like escalation and starts feeling like sociological excuse to rack up a body count. And once I hit that point, I was out. Not completely checked out, not angry, just done. Now look, that doesn't mean there's nothing here. Bob Odenkirk is still really watchable. He brings that grounded everyman energy that makes this whole concept possible in the first place. And there are flashes, little moments where you can see what this movie could have been. That weird offbeat tone, that mix of humor and chaos, but it keeps getting buried under the need to escalate. And eventually, it just wears you down. It wants to have the charm of Chevy Chase and Funny Farm with ultra violence, and that's just not charming. So yeah, I walked out of this one more disappointed than anything else. Not because the idea is bad, but because I can see the version of it that works, and this just doesn't. Because at a certain point, it just stopped being fun for me, and by the end, it just felt ugly. Appreciate you going on this film journey with me. And as always, be real.
What do you think of our little town? It's charming.